Okay.
I think I can see right behind us.
I think you have to wait for the toast.
No, we're gonna just look up. Chaim, say the Chaim. Say the Chaim. Don't want to go. What's the Chaim? Speak for us.
Okay. How many times do I have to do that?
I got 5 more feet.
You see around you, and for those who are dying to find out why and where, we are at Hebrew University. This is the names of individuals who've contributed to the building of Hebrew University. This is all Hebrew University behind you. These are to the Hebrew University fund, right? That's what this wall is. But what we're doing is that it reminds us of one of the most exclusive views of Jerusalem. From here, you can see almost all of Jerusalem. And particularly, I just want you all to just turn around for a second and look at that gold dome. You see that gold dome? That gold dome, it's not that bizarre. There it is. Because the dome of the rock is sitting exactly on the same height the first temple was. This is the place that Abraham would have sacrificed Isaac, and where he made his contract, his solidarity with God, and where God made his contract and his solidarity with his people. And that was the spot. So now I'd like everybody to turn around and look at each other, where we are. Take a deep breath. This is the breath that is the sweetest that you could possibly get. This is a here in Jerusalem. In 1000 BCE, King David the capital of Israel. And you, each one of you, giving us the opportunity to arrive at this moment, at this time. You know what I mean? I'd like us all to raise our voice. Repeat after me. Eloheinu melech haolam, she'eheyanu v'hiyanu v'hiyanu b'zman haseh. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'agafen. Amen. Amen. Mazel tov. Welcome to Jerusalem.
Very nice sweet wine.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Mazel Take pictures and go.
No, she lived both in Nevada and here in Jerusalem. Wow. She had an adopted family, and she did water therapy, physiotherapy for a while with children. Wow. And what else did she? They kind of saw lifeguards. The three of us were all lifeguards, so they kind of saw lifeguard, and then she had a special ed background at that point, so they put it. Okay, you can do water therapy. Hydrotherapy, here you go.
We're not going to sit there. Now, we may have here.
אין, אם גמרת דוחות משניים ודוחות
Actually, one of the apartments she stayed in, the building might have been torn down. It's kind of like across the street from where our hotel right now is. It's one of those like 3-level buildings. So I'll have to take a walk and find out. She knows the supermarket that they used to shop at is down this whole middle strip that we're on. That's all Hotel Road. Those are gone and changed. But that happened to me as well in Tel Aviv. Beyond the hotel there's a plaza, and there was a round circular building. When I was here last, it was a club, it was a dance club that I went to. Yeah, it was called Policy. It used to be a dance club. And I don't remember how many years ago it was, but I remember my sister hearing there was a suicide bomber in there. And I was like, oh, I remember that. And all around it, up at that Marine Hotel, there were shops and all sorts of stuff at a bar that I remember going into at 15 that I was planning on going back into. Going, I dare you to prove me now. You served me at 15, and it's all gone. There's a couple of shops up there, a couple of restaurants, and that's it. Yeah, and I asked David about it in terms of if they're planning on doing anything to it. He says, no, pretty much everybody just goes to Long Beach instead. It's really kind of sad. That could have been. What about the Marina Hotel? Was that positive. Like I saw people in and out, and I saw some construction, but it seems pretty deserted.
What's with the umbrella?
Identification. It's just easy to find. Wanda was saying, remember that house Bazel?
Yeah.
She said it was a dance club, you know, and there was a suicide bomber in there. That was the end of it.
Oh, that's why it's like that?
Yeah, all the shops all around above the Marina Hotel, the shops and bars.
That's why they didn't redo the whole area?
At least when I asked David, and he said that there are no plans in the works. And I saw some people in and out of there in construction, but doesn't seem like a whole lot.
So that's what did all those windows and everything?
What's that?
That's what did all those windows and all that damage? Huh.
Andy? He's right here.
They're all there.
What?
That carving.
This could be easier to walk on.
The numbers that you see there are ages.
Are ages?
Ages of the soldiers who you see. Who I'm going to explain what you see here. Here, come over to this side. Let me get in the middle of you. The memorial. The memorial that you're looking at right now is a memorial that's dedicated to the World War II, when Israeli soldiers were assigned to British vessels, and this recalls the British vessel that sunk with the Israeli soldiers on it. The ages, the names of the soldiers written there, and the ages. And you can see that the way this is designed is a memorial with the water, with what looks like
I can lose my all their ages are written.
Yep.
That's scary.
אז בכל זאת, אם הם עשו את זה, לא נורא. This
I was just gonna ask if they were still alive, right?
לא, הוא צריך לדבר איתנו. בסדר? אוקיי. אוקיי, בסדר. טוב, ביי. All right, I'd like everybody to gather around here. I've randomly chosen this area mainly because there's not a whole lot of people here. And the reason there's not a whole lot of people here is because the graves that you see around you are soldiers who died in 1948. And as you know, as the time goes on, there's less and less people to come and visit their fathers, their husbands, and their family. And I think that it's appropriate that we be here in the area of 1948 war because we can hear, or they can hear our voices as we come here to remember them and the sacrifices that they made. You know, probably one of the most difficult things for any Israeli is to be part of an army that recognizes that if we don't defend ourselves, we'll be annihilated. It's not an issue of if I go in, it's an issue of when I go in and how I go in and what kind of duty that I'll be asked to perform, and recognizing that we have no alternative. When I stand here, I think that the pain of my people is probably stronger than anywhere else, because every kid who grows up in Israel would probably prefer to go to college and live a normal life and not have to serve in the army. When you go through this cemetery, it's like turning the pages of Israel's history. 1948 war, 1956 Sinai campaign, 1967 Six Days War, 1973 Yom Kippur War, 1982 war in Lebanon, the Intifada, the first Intifada, the second Intifada. And it seems never to end because what it really seems is that there's one war. A war that began when we established the state, and it just doesn't end. And every young boy or girl knows that when the time comes after graduation from high school, they too will have to go in. And when they take that oath of allegiance, and they say, Kenem Faked, yes, my commander, Ani Nishbal, I promise. I make an oath. Now in the army, before you take that oath, there are weeks of training, even bringing you to the point of understanding what the difference is between a promise and an oath. That a promise sometimes can be broken, but an oath is taken with your very soul. That you are putting your life in the hands of your commanders, who will never send you to do anything that they wouldn't do. It's a very famous expression in the Israeli army, Acharai, after me. Not Kadima, go ahead, but Acharai, I will go first. That's why there's an inordinate number of officers that you'll find their graves for in the cemetery. You're also recognizing when you become a soldier that you're defending Jews all over the world, not just in Israel. And whether it's at Entebbe, where the Israeli army saved a plane load of Jews who were being held hostage on the runway, or whether it's in a place like Ethiopia, where we rescued 15,000 Ethiopian Jews and brought them to Israel, or quite honestly, whether it would even be in places like America. If you ever needed an Israeli army, a Jewish army,
You have it, because when we take that oath, we take an oath to defend the Jewish people wherever we want. So since the times of Bar Kokhba, the modern Israeli army has come to the defense of the Jewish people so that what happened in World War II would never happen again. Altogether, throughout Israel's history, there were over 21,000 soldiers that were killed in our different wars. In this cemetery, it's the national cemetery, like Arlington Cemetery. But there are private cemeteries all over the country, and there are military sections of those cemeteries. As you look around here, and you see the names, as I said, from 1948, some of these are going to surprise you. For example, Yisrael Zalman Pipshi. That's his code name, or his mascot name. Look at the age. Do you see the age of this? Each one of these stones tells a story. In this case, it's Baruch Prosky, who was the son of Ela and Zed. He was born in Jerusalem. He fell in his task of 1948 in the War of Independence. He was 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
He was 29 years old. He was 36 years old.
13?
He was 13 years old. Excuse me? I'll tell you about the numbers, but the two numbers you see, that's the age. This is a 13-year-old boy. In 1948, there were recruits who came out of our scouts who were delivering messages from place to place for the army. In this case, he was a message runner.
Oh, God.
And the story has how he was riddled with bullets to deliver a message to the Mandelbaum Gate before he died. There were young kids who were guarding the convoys coming up to Jerusalem. Convoys that were trying to bring supplies to a besieged Jerusalem. This area of the cemetery is a little less painful because it's more distant. But if I take you up here to the more recent graves, and you see people, mothers and fathers, tearing their hearts out, you understand what the pain and what the cost of this state has been. And each one of you have had an opportunity over the last week to witness just how gorgeous this country is and how worth fighting for it is. You've seen the beauty of the Galilee, of the Golan Heights. You've been to Tel Aviv, you've been to Haifa. You're here in Jerusalem. And as we look at all of this, we recognize that the price has been very, very, very difficult and very hard. I think that where we're standing right now is also an appropriate place for me to introduce you to my nephew. 2 years ago, on March 10th, Tommy Aron, my wife's sister's oldest son, 20 years old, in a commando unit in Israel known as Sayeret Nachal, went into Hebron and his platoon was being fired at. Tommy had already proved himself as quite a hero. I'm going to pass around this picture here. You look at Tommy. Tomel was born in Grofim, which is a kibbutz near Eilat. And he grew up on the kibbutz. And at about 10 years old, his mother and father, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, decided that they were going to move up to the Galilee, not far from where we were yesterday when we were at Beit Shan.
So handsome.
And it was there that he became a accomplished young basketball star of the region, and always number one in his class, brilliant student. Never had a girlfriend, but all the girls loved him. When Tomel's time came to go into the army, there was no question that he would go into the most elite force he could possibly find, the Air Force. He wanted to become a pilot. And so he went into the pilot's training course. Now, to be a pilot in Israel is very difficult. And he was able to survive in the Air Force for a year before they said to him, because of an eye problem that he wasn't going to be able to become a pilot. And they gave him a choice. Either he stays in, becomes a commissioned officer in the Air Force, or if he wanted to, he could join up with a commando unit. There was no question in his mind. I want to be a commando, he said. We're in the middle of a war against terrorism, and I'm going to fight it. I want you to know that politically, Tomer voted in one election. And in that election, he voted the far left-wing party. He didn't want to be in the West Bank. He didn't want to be in Gaza. But he knew that when the time came to do his duty, he was going to be the best soldier he could possibly be. Did you see that? And so, he went into the commando unit, Sayeret Nachal. We only found out at his funeral that he had become quite a hero. He had been, you've heard about the tunnels between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. He cleared out tunnels. He went into caves in the West Bank and tracked down terrorists. We didn't know any of this. They even had a film. The Army showed us a film. And it was a night film of him taking out two terrorists who were trying to enter into a community and kill people. I remember Tomer, when he was about 10 years old, he came with me around Jerusalem and I showed him Jerusalem. His questions were incredible. He had and he didn't come from a religious family at all. Anyway, in March of 2 years ago, he was called into Hebron, where a terrorist was shooting at other members of his unit. And a bullet just went through his shoulder. And his fellow soldiers have told us that he died almost instantly. At the time, my family, my wife and myself, my children, were in New York. And when we got the news, of course, everything changed for us. We came back to Israel. Funeral, 30 days, the constant visits to the family, the leaders of Israel apologizing that this is what has to happen. Tomer's not buried in the cemetery. Tomer's buried in the place that he loved so much, Moledet, Moshav Moledet, up in the Jezreel Valley, where we, like I said, near where we were yesterday. And as I also said the other day, you know, here on Memorial Day, we go through this day of pain and tears, and then at the end of the day, we begin an Independence Day parade. We start celebrating. In my family, we don't celebrate. We haven't celebrated in 2 years. I don't know whether the future will be a celebration or not. I just know that for us, like so many others, despite the fact that I think we've made quite a contribution to Israel, my sister-in-law looks up to the heavens every day and says, "Why me?" Listen, I'd like you to take any grave that you can find here with your flowers, lay the flowers on, make your own personal prayers. If you can read the names, read the names. If not, I'm sure that the prayers will get through.
Yes, I am.
חייב? אני יודע שכן.
אני עוד חודשיים, אחי. לאט לאט.
מה זה נקרא בכי?